How do you baptize a baby at sea? How did J-Lo change Google as we know it? Just how weird can a lobster get? The answers to these crazy questions are bound to leave your buddies wanting more. Well, in fact, anyone would be impressed. So, let's get the party started with a little track I like to call I'm Gonna Fact You Up. Do I? I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 random facts to impress anyone you meet. Just go fact up all the people you can. 25. The highway with no cars. The island of Mackinac in Michigan doesn't allow cars on its highway. Visit the M185 and you'll see bicycles, horses, and walkers, but nothing gas-powered. What gives? Well, back in 1898, authorities there decided to pass on the automobile. Strange as it sounds, America wasn't entirely happy when the car was invented, with some feeling they were too noisy and disruptive. Cars became accepted over time. However, on this island, you can stuff your Fast and the Furious up your tailpipe. 24. Baptism in the Bell. If you're in a situation where a baptism is happening at sea, and yes, that's actually a thing, you need to do things right. This involves taking the ship's bell down, upending it, and turning it into a font. After wetting the baby's head, the name of the child can be inscribed on the bell. 23. Bananas can filter water. They're not just good for potassium and sight gags, but how do you filter water using a banana? Well, do what the team at Sao Paulo University did in 2011 and throw a bunch of banana peels into a river. The fruity compounds removed heavy metals such as copper and lead from the water thanks to exposed electrons in the skin. A mind-blowing solution, and most importantly, well, cheaper than usual methods. 22. The man who became a frisbee. If you've ever played frisbee golf, then you have Steady Ed to thank. That was the nickname of the game's inventor, Edward Hedrick. When he passed away in 2002, his cremated remains were placed not in an urn, but in a collection of limited edition frisbees. Reports at the time stated that these items could be sold to raise money for a museum. The plan worked, with the Hedrick Memorial Museum currently open for business in Georgia. 21. Where tips come from. Tipping your server is a worldwide tradition, though it actually came from Tudor England, where historical high rollers would hand over money to servants of the property they were staying at. That sounds like a forerunner to today's hotels, doesn't it? That's how tips are thought to have gotten started, but that's not the end of the story. The word tip is in fact a kind of acronym, meaning to ensure promptitude. 20. I was a teenage flag designer. The design of the Alaskan flag is simple, effective, and created by a 13-year-old. An orphan named Benny Benson entered the competition to find a territorial flag for Alaska back in 1926. His blue and yellow design went down in history. Alaska wouldn't be a state for another 33 years, but when it did get that status, Benson's flag was proudly flying. 19. J-Lo is responsible for Google Images. When she attended the Grammy Awards back in 2000, Jennifer Lopez wore a striking green dress. People Googled the heck out of it. But it was a different Google back then, one with no place to search for pics. So she wound up inspiring the creation of Google Images, laying the groundwork for the repeated breaking of the internet years later. 18. Allodoxaphobia. The world has never been more polarized, with everyone seemingly scared of each other's views. Turns out there's a name for this: allodoxaphobia. It's an ancient Greek word you can break down into 3 parts: allo, or different, dox, which stands for opinion, and of course phobia, derived from the Greek god of fear named Phobos. 17. Smartphones use up nearly a decade of your life. In 2020, a scientific study came to this staggering conclusion. Based on a sample of 1,000 people in the US, the investigation revealed that millennials spend nearly 9 years on their phones. That means over 20% of their day, with close to 4 hours daily average screen time. And it doesn't get much better for other age groups. The eye-opening study was released by the Whistle Out comparison website. 16. A woman gave birth to 69 children. This extraordinary stat belongs to an 18th century Russian woman who was thought to be named Valentina Vasilyev. Because history doesn't always respect women, putting it mildly, her name isn't confirmed. Her husband, one Fyodor Vasilyev, is very much confirmed. After Valentina gave him 16 pairs of twins, 7 sets of triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets, he moved on to the next lucky lady. Valentina herself reportedly lived into her late 70s. She made the Guinness Book of Records as the most prolific mother. 15. Bizarre broccoli. How to make broccoli even more unpleasant? Give it the good old taste of bubblegum. That was the bizarre marketing idea dreamt up by McDonald's. It never reached the restaurant, surprise, surprise, but it was some poor food scientist's job to try it out. Even if you had a delicious, juicy bubblegum taste, you're still eating weird, alien-looking stock that kids find so unappetizing. I'm not loving it, and neither was anyone else. I hate broccoli. 14. Your brain burns calories. The brain is a muscle, and it uses up calories just like any other muscle in your body. As many as 500 calories approximately are burned every day, simply by thinking. No surprise, really. Your brain is constantly busy keeping that show called You on the road. It doesn't end when you're asleep either. So the next time someone tells you that you're slobbering around wasting energy, just throw this fact at them. 13. Don't milk the small stuff. Platypuses are strange enough without knowing that they actually sweat milk. It comes out of the mammary gland ducts on their skin. Why does it happen? Well, because they don't have any nipples, meaning babies need to suckle their mother's fur. Technically, the platypus isn't sweating, but it certainly looks like that from the outside. Instead, they ooze milk, which, let's face it, is equally gross. But you know what else will really impress your friends? If you like, share, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you get more content like this, it really helps the channel out. And like I said, it'll totally impress your friends. Just show them the channel. That'll impress them too. Also, check out our social medias. 12. The Cookie Monster has a name. In 2004, the legendary Cookie Monster from Sesame Street sang about his real name. Before he became Cookie, the character was known as Sid. I mean, surely Chip would have been more appropriate. Either way, keep that cookie jar out of reach, or, well, you know what happens. 11. Ultimate slow news day. How many times have you watched the news and thought they were making a really boring story last a really long time? Talk about a slow news day. Things were different back in the 30s when the BBC decided to have some fun during a bulletin and play music. They went on the air and literally said, "There is no news." Imagine that happening on CNN. 10. What's a tittle? And I don't mean to tittle-tattle, but there's an actual thing called a tittle. In fact, you see tittles all the time. They're right in front of your face, usually. If you have the subtitles on for this video, you've got a whole bunch of tittles right there. A tittle is the dot you find over the letter I. It's connected to the word title and goes back hundreds of years. 9. Lobsters are weird. They look weird for a reason. Lobsters not only have their bladders under their eyes, and yeah, you heard me right, they also urinate on one another during sex. And you thought this was a family channel. There's a practical reason behind the undersea pee play. It reportedly makes the male lobster chill and get in the mood for lobster loving. And if you think that doesn't sound too bad, don't forget that urine's coming out of their eyes. 8. Grand Theft Auto, legal minefield. Grand Theft Auto is all about the exciting world of being a criminal. Don't be a criminal. The awful world of being a criminal. However, the controversy doesn't end when you switch off your game console. GTA has been condemned by political figures since it was released in 1997. Fast forward to 2002, and Grand Theft Auto Vice City was partly blamed for actual murders, resulting in lawsuits being brought against Rockstar Games. Then in 2014, Lindsay Lohan claimed that Grand Theft Auto 5 had used her likeness without permission. The dispute rumbled on until 2016, and she lost the case. 7. Your feet contain a lot of bones. There are a whole lot of bones in the human body. But did you know approximately a quarter of your bone content is found in the foot? Each of your feet contain 26 bones. Why so many? Well, it's all part of Mother Nature's design. You need a lot of support for all the walking and running you're doing in your lifetime, so those things on the end of your legs have to be strong and sturdy. 6. There's more to hashtags than you think. Sure, we know them as hashtags, or, the pound sign, but they had another name way back when. The original name is Octothorpe. Certainly not as catchy, is it? I like it. The story behind the curious little word is a mystery. Some say that Don McPherson, a supervisor who worked for iconic research and development company Bell Labs, came up with Octothorpe in connection with the telecoms industry. It was reportedly a tribute to American Indian athlete Jim Thorpe, with the octo part surely coming from the symbol's 8-pointed shape. Hashtag bring back Octothorpe. Octothorpe, bring back Octothorpe. 5. Barbie and Ken broke up? This plastic pair didn't find each other so fantastic at one point. In 2004, Valentine's Day to be precise, they spent some time apart. Barbie reportedly began seeing an Australian DJ, though they broke up when he failed to articulate himself. The iconic doll couple reunited in 2011, and what do you know? It happened on Valentine's Day again. That is one mushy marketing move. 4. Flight through history. Did you know there were female pilots of color back in the 1920s? Not that this should be surprising today, but back then it was a game-changing development. Bessie Coleman became the first African-American woman to get a license to fly. Coleman was born in Atlanta, Texas, though was unable to earn her qualification in her home country. She needed to fly to France for that. 3. The air diet. Here's a guaranteed way to lose weight. Don't eat any food. Don't worry, you can survive on air and the nutrients that go in and out of your lungs. Oh, and you need to make sure you're in the sun. I wouldn't recommend so-called breatharianism at all, because, if it did work, then surely no one would have ever starved to death. This fad diet dates back to the 70s, a mere 50 years ago. 2. Potatoes help with sunburn. Got your towel? Got your sunglasses? Got your potatoes? Simply liquefy potato chunks into a blender and apply in a patting motion to any burns you may receive from the sun. Once the potatoes have dried, get in the shower. Though, not a hot one, obviously. The starch and antioxidants in spuds are reportedly good for keeping your burns moist. 1. Here be free beer. In 2013, the Canadian brewer Molson installed a series of fridges across Europe. These fridges contained beer. Woohoo! Unfortunately, they were locked. Woo, what? The idea was you could access the booze, but only if you were from Canada. Your passport opened the fridge if you flashed it at the fridge's webcam. The idea was to make Canadians feel proud of themselves whilst abroad. I don't know about pride, but they'd certainly be merry though. And that's it for our rundown of random facts to impress anyone you meet. If you're looking to spice up your next discussion or just throw some crazy facts at people for fun, then check out our other video right here, and I'll see you soon for a fresh list.